Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I hope you are doing well. This week's Parsha is Noach. So, as you know, we are in the second Parsha of the entire Torah. And famously, Noach is at the beginning of the story of the Torah. So, again, Noach, Noah, same person. The story of Noah is one that we know well. Noah was living in a time where people were being bad. They were just not good. They were stealing from each other. They were not being kind to one another. And because of this, God decided that the world just needs to start over. We need to just erase everyone and start from the beginning. And if we remember, Adam and Eve are the first generation, of course. And then 10 generations later, we have Noach. So the world's only existed for about 10 generations. And at this point, God's like, you know what, it's not working out. We're just going to start over, start from scratch. So God tells Noah to build an ark and that there's going to be a great flood and he needs to, take his family on one of each animal, the famous story that we all know. And when Noach is first introduced to us in the opening of the Torah, it's Noach ish tzaddik bedorotav, that Noach was a righteous man bedorotav in his generation. So this addition of "in his generation" feels like a little bit of a slight from the text of the Torah. If he was such a righteous man, just say he's an ish tzaddik. He doesn't need to be an ish tzaddik bedorotav. If we say ish tzaddik bedorotav, it's saying, oh yeah, he was good for the time, or it's like saying you look so good for someone who's 60 years old. Like, just say you look good, and you can look good and be 60 years old. These things don't have to be, they're not mutually exclusive. But with Noach, clearly there was some sort of reason to have this bedorotav included. So there are three reasons that we think Noach maybe wasn't as righteous as we like to think of him as being. The first one is that perhaps he didn't have the full faith in God that was required for him to encourage people to repent. So if we remember, Noach is building the ark for like 100 years. He's out building this huge wooden structure in his front yard, and nobody stops to ask him what he's doing. He doesn't tell anyone, oh yeah, I'm building an ark because the world's going to end if you don't repent. Like, no one? Is only his family and the animals? So that's the first thing, is that why is it that Noach was not able to convince anyone? One, did he not have faith in God? Did he not really think that the waters were going to come? Because we learned that Noach and his family are said to have entered the ark only when the waters came. Does that mean that they kind of didn't really have faith until they actually saw it? Perhaps. The second thing is, perhaps Noach didn't have faith in humanity. Perhaps he thought, oh, who am I to say these, repent. He can't teach an old dog new tricks. He probably thought, or perhaps he thought that, people were just the way they were and there's no chance of making them change. And then the third thing is perhaps Noach didn't have faith in himself. Perhaps he felt he wasn't a good enough leader. He was an ish tzaddik bedorotav. How could he be an ish tzaddik if he was just being told that he was bedorotav? And these are the three things that we all kind of struggle with, right? So we struggle with faith in ourselves, we struggle with our faith in God, and we struggle with our faith in the people around us. And the answer kind of is, there's no real answer, I guess. The answer is, you have to have faith in something. You have to believe in a higher power to make your life have meaning, in my personal opinion. And so if you're someone like Noach, who has trouble believing in yourself, has trouble believing in God, has trouble believing in humanity, what is there to believe in? You could end up just being totally taken over by your negative emotions. And so that's kind of the idea, that Noach was a person who, again, did his best. Perhaps his best wasn't good enough, but he did his best. And the other descriptor of Noach is, and I've said this before, that he's described as a tzaddik impels, that he's a righteous man in a fur coat. So what does this mean? That when it's cold outside, the righteous man who's in a fur coat puts on the fur coat. What does a righteous man who doesn't wear a fur coat? The righteous man who doesn't wear a fur coat goes and lights a fire so that other people can be warm as well. The tzaddik impels isn't concerned about the warmth of the community. He's concerned about the warmth of himself. And it's a challenge. We have to be selfish at some point. We have to, put our feelings, our comfort first. But we have to work to not be tzaddiks that impels. We have to work to be righteous men, righteous women, who are willing to light a fire for the community instead of just warming ourselves. And so it's a kind of just like endless sort of working between extremes. How can we be moderate in a way that's helpful, that allows us to have a good life, but also, encourages those around us to have good lives? It's a balance that we're always working on. But those are the ideas for this week's Parsha. Again, the story of Noach is just so great. It's just like, I love all these early Torah stories. Wishing you a Shabbat Shalom, and God willing, I will see you all next week.